My grandpa has the coolest podcast. You gotta listen to it. Or else I'll punch you in the face. Why did I say that?
You know, if you're able to get inside my brain, and hear what my thoughts are, you would understand quickly that they fray in a bunch of different directions. Professionally, I was a hockey player, and now I'm a coach. So one would think that's kind of what I live and breathe, but that's not actually the case. Though I love what I do, there's so much outside of the game that I'm really passionate about. I'm a bit of a music and guitar freak, and I love motorcycles and the arts. I even like history and geography through my travels. My podcast is about all of these things, and I speak with some really cool people about some really cool shit that I've met throughout my career. And yeah, you will probably hear the odd hockey story. So join me inside my brain, man, and welcome to my Motley Thoughts. All right, well, before we get going here, I should mention support for Motley Thoughts is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. Join the movement for all your below-the-waist grooming needs. And big news, Manscaped just launched in Canada. For those listeners in Canada, you can be one of the first Canadians to experience their life-changing products. One of the coolest things, the other day when I was using the thing, the Lawnmower 3.0, I couldn't get over how quiet the thing was. And nothing worse than thinking that everybody in the whole house or the whole world knows you're shaving your junk. Anyways, that's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. The Manscaped engineering team perfected the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created and have the Lawnmower 3.0. Their third generation trimmer features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents. When I tell you this is premium, I mean premium, man. The battery lasts up to like 90 minutes, so you can have a closer and longer shave. The waterproof technology allows you to groom in the shower. One of the coolest features is the LED light, which illuminates grooming areas for closer and more precise trimming. They've also upgraded to a 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology. And let's not forget about the charging stand. Show your more off loud and proud, because this intelligently designed stand is a convenient charging dock powered by USB. If you're listening to me speak right now, I want you to experience firsthand for yourself and trim that junk of yours. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code DUSTY70 at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. All right, and back to our regular scheduled programming. All right. Thanks for joining me. My next guest, I'm really excited to have on the podcast. But before I introduce this gentleman and all of his accomplishments, I want to explain my excitement. And it's actually not because of his accomplishments. It's because of how we connected and actually how we became friends. And it wasn't through hockey, actually. It was more of our love for music and guitars in particular. Which we'll get into in the podcast. Now about this guy. He was drafted 6th overall by the Columbus Blue Jackets in 2005, played parts of 8 seasons in the NHL. Then he went over to the KHL in Russia for a number of years, and that's actually where we met. He has since just come back from playing in Poland, and was gracious enough to join me today. So without further ado, it gives me great pleasure in welcoming my friend and fellow guitar shredder, Mr. Gilbert Brule. How are you doing, buddy?
Hey, Dusty. Thanks so much for having me on.
No worries, man. You're all settled in back home?
Yeah, I am. I just, like you said, I just came back from Poland a few weeks ago and had to do the whole quarantine thing and, all
Yeah.
that stuff. So I'm just getting back to kind of normal life here, sort of. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I, I don't think I've ever played or been to Poland. Uh, I know a couple people that have gone there, but what was your experience like?
It was pretty wild, and it was kind of strange how I ended up actually going to Poland because, as you know, Victor Bartley, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He was kind of the one who brought it to me, and he was like, I've signed and was going to Poland, and I was like, me and Victor talk quite a bit, and we do some business together, and we're good friends. So he's like, hey, why don't you just come play in Poland with me? And I was just like, oh, maybe I should. And I was just like a joke at first, but then it kind of turned into like, hey, he's like, maybe you should come here, and like it's going to be a short season. And I was like, I may as well give it a shot. And I didn't really like feel like going anywhere else, and it was just nice to kind of go somewhere with a friend like him, and we had a good time together. And yeah, that's kind of the reason why I went. So it was a fun few months with him, and so it was great.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Did Vic like it?
You know what? He did like it there, but he actually ended up having to go home about halfway through our journey there because of just some family
Oh, really?
stuff. But so yeah, he ended up leaving pretty quick. He went home just for some personal reasons, and yeah, so I ended up staying. I stayed there obviously, and I just finished the season out. So it was too bad that he had to go, but we got to spend some time together there, and it was awesome.
Well, that's cool.
He's a great guy, you know.
How was the hockey?
The hockey was actually pretty good. Yeah, our team ended up making the playoffs, and we did lose in the first round, but the hockey was really good. It was, I wouldn't say it was like overly physical or anything, but there were some pretty skilled guys, and they worked very hard, so it was good. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Well,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with, and I was looking at your stats just to see. I knew some of the places you played, but I didn't know everywhere. So, you've been to a number of places, but I think it's a great thing when uh, it's great to play in the NHL or whatever, but it's also great to go travel and see different types of the parts of the world and whatnot. And you really seem to have gotten to see quite a few places.
Yeah, I have, and I was like you said, it was great to play in the NHL and get to see, and play in that league. Obviously, one of the best leagues in the world, the best league in the world. But outside of that, after I've been pretty fortunate to travel, like you said, and go to these different countries and to play in like China, where we met, and played in Croatia, played in Poland, and then all the other teams and things we play along the road trips and stuff. We go to a lot of places, right? So
Yeah.
it's been pretty cool to play in those cities and play in Russia, right? And not a lot of people get to do that stuff, so I feel like I'm kind of like one of those soccer players, that just kind of travels around Europe or like travels from the team and just plays in different countries all the time. I'm like kind of like that guy. So,
Well, hey, you're doing what you love,
yeah.
and you're getting to see all the places that you've been to. How can you beat that? I guess when we're kids, you have that one dream to play in the show or whatever. But what your career has been able to offer you outside of just playing hockey is pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing, and obviously I've got to meet some pretty amazing people along the way too, which is, opened my eyes and kind of to see things in a bigger, more open kind of view, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's perfect lead into what I guess I was going to give the listeners a background as to why I was I wanted to have you on the pod, and it wasn't because I know you from working with you in hockey. It was actually how we kind of connected while we were working together in the KHL, and it was kind of funny because you're kind of you're a quiet person when you first, just as a coach watching players and stuff. You seem very quiet and not that you weren't friendly or anything, but you didn't say much to the coaching staff or whatever. And then I don't know, I can't remember how it happened, but I know I'd seen you traveling on the road with a guitar.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, I didn't know that. And so I asked some people, just does he play much, or what's the deal? And then I heard that you're actually not only good like playing guitar, but like hard rock. And so I was like, oh shit, we gotta start to chat. And then I remember, I don't know where we were, but we were at one of those private terminals, waiting outside of the terminal to get in there. And you came up to me and we started chatting about music.
Yeah, I
And
remember that.
yeah, do you remember that? Yeah. And
Yeah.
it was like totally opened up a whole new friendship, and we started talking about music and guitars,
Yeah.
and then you said would love to jam. And do you remember what city where we were in when we jammed together?
I think we were in Yekaterinburg, maybe. I think when we had that little like 4 days there.
Yeah.
I think that's where we were.
Yeah. And that's actually, I went trekked on my own, found a guitar shop,
Yeah.
and I bought a guitar in Russia. And it was the guy there at the guitar shop spoke zero English.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know how I ended up walking out of there with a guitar, but I managed to buy one. But it was so cool because you usually when there's that coach player separation, traditionally anyways,
Yeah.
that I've never been an advocate for, especially the way I coach. I like to have relationships, and it was nice that you stepped over that boundary, and we connected, and we jammed that night. And it was just so much fun, and built a friendship right around that. And I just think it was so cool. And I wanted to ask you, have you been playing a lot lately?
You know what? I haven't been playing a ton as of late because actually when I went to Poland, it was kind of like I had to kind of leave pretty quick. So I didn't bring a guitar with me. So
Oh, ouch.
I had a few months of a break. So I'm kind of slowly getting back into it again. I had just a little break and I'm a little bit rusty, so I needed practice. But before I actually left, like I guess it was just at the end of summer, I bought a new Marshall's amp, so a nice stack. So
Oh, wow.
I got to get back playing because I got to start, playing with the amp and getting some use out of it because it was nice, man. It's really nice.
So you bought a stack.
I did, yeah.
Well, you live out out. I was going to say out in the middle of nowhere, but you have the freedom to crank it.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
that's cool. Do you have a sectioned off area in the house so you don't freak out your wife?
we have like our spare room is kind of like I call it my music room. So I have like my guitars and on the wall in there, and I've got my amp in there and microphone, and I have an actual drum set in there too that my friend brought over that he's kind of been playing when he comes over sometimes. So it's the music room kind of. So, but she doesn't mind honestly when I play my guitar, so which is kind of nice. It's cool.
That's cool. So you got the stack. What's and you always made me really jealous whenever we talked about your collection of guitars. Have you added to that at all?
You know what? I actually, to get that Marshall stack, I ended up selling some of my guitars that I wasn't really using as much.
Right.
I kind of kept most of the nice ones, obviously, like the more top of the line, like Gibsons and stuff. I kept, but I got rid of my the one that was tough to get rid of. It was a 1986 Martin acoustic.
Yeah.
It had a little bit of wear and tear to it, but I bought it at like an old vintage shop when I was playing in Edmonton. That one was tough to give up. It was the hardest one to give up, but it brought in some good money, which was enabled me to get the amp, which was a fair trade, I think. So
that's cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Was is it a new stack, or was it an older one, or?
It's new. Yeah. It's the Marshall Silver Jubilee series.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's rocks pretty loud, man. I like it.
So you've had a chance to turn it up?
Oh yeah, a few times. I haven't cranked it up to 10 yet because I'm kind of worried what it's going to do to the window or the wall or something. I don't know. Yeah, so it's going to shake the whole house for sure. It does on like halfway up, so it's pretty loud.
Well, that's the thing they say about Marshalls. They actually sound better when they're cranked.
Yeah, I can agree with that for sure.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. When I actually have and I've had it since I not quite maybe a teen, end of my teen years, but early 20s.
Okay.
I bought a mini stack, and it's a special edition one. It's red.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's perfect because the big ones, one, they take up space. Two, sometimes it's just you can't play it in the in if you're in where there's a lot of houses.
Yeah, for sure.
And this one you can crank, and it's loud, but it's still doable. And
Yeah.
so you can actually, when you get to 9 and 10, it sounds sick.
Nice. That's awesome.
It sounds totally cool.
That's cool because Marshall doesn't make too many red amps, do they? I don't see it.
Well, I looked around because when you buy something, you think at the time, I didn't care. I just loved how it looked when I was just a kid, right?
Yeah.
But as years went on, I look back and like when they said it was special edition, I was like, yeah, is it really? I'll probably go and look and there'll be a million of them out there, but I haven't found any.
Nice. Yeah.
So I got to take it in because I think the tubes or something is shorting. It makes sometimes it makes a funky sound, a hiss or something. So I got to get it fixed, but it's old and I don't want to lose it. So there's some new great amps out there that you think, well, should I, especially with the connection with your computers and stuff. Now the stuff these amps can do, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild with all the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and all the connection stuff you can do with things now.
Yeah, but this one I think I'm gonna hang on to. One of the other vintage things I kept is I had an old wah pedal.
Oh yeah.
That was given to me from a girlfriend's dad when we were kids, and it was from like the 60s.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's looks got mold inside. I had to open it up, and I'm trying to keep it, but you gotta really keep those things up. It's tough.
Yeah, because those wah pedals usually have a bit of like oil and some sort of lubrication in them, right, and stuff. So that could definitely get like.
Yeah, it needs to be refurbished for sure. It doesn't, when you go to push on it, it's like it makes these funky noises, but it's definitely one worth trying to refurbish. So I gotta get on that one. So your guitars that you're using right now, what's your go-to?
What I play the most, I'd say, is probably just my Gibson Les Paul, like the gold top.
Yeah.
57 reissue. That's probably one of my favorite guitars that I play.
Nice.
I love the colors of it, and like the back, the wood, and the gold. It just matches and blends just so nicely, and it's like a piece of artwork. I just love holding it and playing it.
That's some of the best for me, anyways. You sound similar. The best thing is the actual just looking at what you're playing and the feel, and it's like you said, it's like art. It's like it's something that you kind of in awe of when you're playing it. I love that.
Yeah,
it's the coolest thing.
There's some really beautiful guitars out there, and like there's some guys who can really make some amazing stuff on the top of the guitar, with the finish on it and whatever they're doing. And one of my favorites has got to be the Gibson. I think it's the Bourbon Burst. I really love that guitar. Mm-hmm. Just the color of that guitar. It's pretty. It just looks like a nice rock and roll solid guitar. I like that. Yeah.
Well, I follow Gibson, the company, on Instagram, and they have some sick stuff coming out. It's crazy. And you know what? I just had Biz on the last episode of the podcast, and I told him this story. We had this story that he introduced a guy to me that was wanting one of my masks and did the trade. He said he would trade for some Apple product, and then also he out of the blue hooked me up and got me a guitar from Schecter. And but what the real cool thing is, he knew the VP, so he got me in LA, because that's where I was, and the head the plant there, where they customize make the guitars and shit, had a tour for me, and I got to see all of that, and I'd never been in one before, so that was very fascinating to me to see them actually, how they make these things. And you talk about the finishes, the tops and stuff, how they come up with these different designs and colors and grains and stuff is mind-boggling.
Yeah, I bet. I don't even know where they start to do that stuff.
It's crazy. And some of the machines that they have, that they put the bodies in and stuff, and to get these finishes is unbelievable. Then you really start to appreciate how they get some of these looks on some of these guitars, man.
It really is a piece of artwork.
Yeah. When you showed me some of the pics of your guitars, I get jealous, because if I had the unlimited amounts of money, that's probably one thing I would get out of hand with. Yeah, for sure. It's one of those things, like I almost got to leave the guitar shop sometimes, because I could just go on a spree.
It is like an addiction for sure.
Yeah. No doubt.
And it's an expensive one. It can be expensive one.
Well, hey, it's a better habit to have than some of the alternatives, I'll just say.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Hey, any new music you're listening to right now?
Not a lot of like new music. I kind of just cycle back through a lot of old music and kind of newer stuff and older stuff and everything in between, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of go through phases sometimes where I listen to like a little bit more rap and some little more chill music.
Yeah.
I go through, like, most of the time it's pretty like heavy rock and heavy metal or some heavy rock stuff. So that's pretty much kind of my go-to is rock and metal. And
yeah.
I mean, with all the COVID stuff right now, there hasn't been like a ton of new, albums coming out from bands that I like. There's been a couple here and there, but just not as regularly, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, and it's different too. That you can tell the writing and the way things are going down. It's just not coming out as fast and as much, because everybody's having to write on their own and then collaborate through their computers and whatnot, and you just get a totally different vibe.
Yeah, that's not quite the same. You're not really blending together when you're making your music there. You're kind of just...
I know bands are trying. I've been watching how they've been trying to keep it fresh and interesting. I was going to tell you if you haven't been venturing into any of the new stuff, do you know the band Chevelle?
Chevelle?
Yeah,
I've heard a few of their songs.
They've been around a long time, but never in the main media as far as the mainstream. But they have a new album out, and it's sick. I love it. Yeah, no, I think you'd really like it. When I heard the new album, I was like, Brule probably would like this.
What's the name of it?
I think it's Self-Destructor. Hang on, just let me take a quick look here.
I'm always looking for new music to find, so
hang on here. No, that's the title. That was the first track, actually. Self-Destructor. The name of the album is called, I don't even know how to fucking say it. It's Niratias. Niratias
or something. Okay.
But anyways, it's the new album, and the song listen to Self-Destructor first, and let me know what you think, because I'm hooked on it. I know of them, right? But prior to that, I had maybe 4 or 5 songs on my iTunes. And then after I heard that album, I was like, I downloaded everything. And so when kind of that rabbit hole, I get into those, and I was like, man, these guys are a lot better than I ever realized. Like, they write some really cool shit. Really cool shit.
Yeah, I've listened to a few of their songs from like maybe 10 years ago, even.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You got a couple of really good songs that I like.
Well, here's the thing. Usually, when you just surface listen on like whatever comes across on your iTunes or whatever, you usually only hear the title track or the one that they promote
Yeah, for
to,
sure.
and it's more commercial, right?
Yeah.
And then you don't really get the gist of what the band's about.
Yeah, totally. I agree with that. They always
Yeah.
their kind of singles or their hit song, and then there's always some better songs usually on the album than those.
Right.
So,
Well,
so,
I was going to tell you, I actually, every so often, I do a bonus episode where I do Dusty's downloads,
mhm.
and I give 5 songs that I really think are cool. And I try to keep them more songs that not the average Joe would know off the top of their head. So kind of give them something new to research and find a new love, a new band. And that song Self Destructor was one of them.
Okay.
But there's another band that we might have talked about this on the road. I'm not sure, but do you know of Coheed and Cambria?
Oh yeah, I know Coheed and Cambria. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, in the music world, they're well known, like they're well respected. But
they're
as far as the
yeah,
average listener,
yeah,
not a lot of people know.
yeah.
I think they're awesome.
Yeah, I heard about them when I was just out of high school, I think, and I don't know. You should watch this. I think it's like what's that guitar shop down there? Guitar or something?
World?
Guitar World or whatever. Guitar Center, I think it is.
Oh, Guitar Center. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think it's them or someone who does like a live show with Coheed and Cambria playing at their wherever it is, their venue.
I think
And
I saw it on
it,
YouTube.
and they play that Welcome Home song.
Yeah, yeah.
God, it's the guys with the long hair, the singer,
Yeah.
and like the solo behind his back, and
Yeah.
he's singing like crazy, and it's wild. It's awesome, awesome song to watch live.
Well, that's the key when I try to pump up Coheed and Cambria. I said you listen to the song and you're like, wow, they're good players or whatever, but then you watch them live and how they do all of that live.
Yeah,
It's amazing actually. If you've played and try to sing and play, you you know what I'm talking about because it's he makes it look like it's like nothing.
yeah. I was like, my mind was blown when I watched that. I was just like, how is he doing this right now? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he makes it
Yeah.
look easy too, but
The I was going to tell you one of the other things I talked about with Biz on the show. He on Spittin' Chicklets, they a while back they had on a guest, Jay Weinberg,
yeah.
the drummer from Slipknot,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I guess he's a goalie.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
Right. So I was telling Biz, I said, you got to hook me up with this guy because that's exactly the type of guy I would want on the pod. There's a connection with hockey, but we could talk about music
yeah,
and he's a hard rock guy. I'm like,
yeah.
gotta have him on. And he said he's gonna hook me up, but that uh, that connection would be so cool. I thought you'd find that interesting.
That would be awesome to get him on your show for sure. I heard he's like a huge Nashville Predators fan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've been researching to just see what where his love of hockey is, and it said that
yeah,
in on Google there. It said he's a huge fan, and he's got a really cool story too. Do you know that his dad was the drummer for Bruce Springsteen? Bruce Springsteen?
yeah, yeah. I do. Yeah, because I do follow him on Instagram, and I'm a Slipknot fan, right? So I
Right.
follow him, and he's actually posted some stuff about that.
Yeah.
I had no idea before. I was like, that's wild. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Some really big bands, yeah. So,
Well, and what's really cool is when I listened to the podcast, he explained it uh, uh, and how it all went down with him becoming the Slipknot drummer, how he became a professional drummer. And did you know he uh, he played a song with Bruce, like it's Madison Square Garden or somewhere huge.
yeah.
Uh, played a song uh, with him, And then later on, I guess his dad was contractually obligated to do I think, I don't know if it's the Tonight Show or Fallon or what. He's on one of those. He's a drummer for one of those shows, and they were just Conan O'Brien, I think.
Okay.
And they were relaunching him in New York or somewhere, and he had to be there through the beginning, so a good stretch. So Bruce asked his dad if Jay would be into drumming for him on the tour.
Yeah.
So he went on tour with Bruce for the year.
How old was he then? He must
I
have
don't. Yeah, he was young. So he toured with freaking Bruce Springsteen.
That was like the first gig, kind of, was with Bruce.
Yeah, and then I guess he'd been a huge fan of Slipknot right from when he was young.
Yeah.
And then auditioned and freaking got the job. That is just such a cool story. Such a cool story.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah. What I was going to ask you a little bit back to the hockey. I was going to ask you when you were in Russia, I noticed you played on a number of teams, and I wanted to know some of the best places that you really liked, and I don't want to go into the negative shit, that were the worst places and everything, but were there a couple places that you really enjoyed?
Definitely. You know what? Not in, just outside of Russia, because I did play in Shanghai. I really liked playing in Shanghai. I thought that was a cool city. Beijing was pretty cool to experience for a while, but with all the traffic and just how busy it was, after a while, it was just a bit too much, honestly. Taking an hour or two to get to a game and back home every day was
that got old.
Yeah, pretty quick, especially if we had morning skates too, and then a game at night. That was like 4 hours in a cab. It was just too much. But in Russia, like, I really love Moscow and St. Petersburg. I think, most people, North Americans probably say the same thing.
Yeah.
Moscow is a super fun city. Just lots of things you can get into there. Lots of great restaurants and bars and whatever you're looking for. And it's always open pretty much. You want to go out, you want to have fun. It's a cool city, and some of the best food I think I've ever had in the world has been in Moscow, So I've been around to, quite a few countries, and probably one of my favorite cities for sure.
Really cool. I love Moscow too. Yeah. There was before going there was, you're open to what people have told you about the place, or you kind of bulk in Russia as, dark and gray and gloomy and everything. But Russia, I thought, was really cool.
Yeah, actually, the first year I was there, let's say maybe two, it took me a bit of an adjustment to get used to how things were over there. Obviously, the culture and just the way life is, and your day-to-day going to the rink and all that stuff, it takes a bit of getting used to. But once you can actually get used to that and see how it is over there and how people live and how they are, it's a really beautiful place, and I really enjoyed it too.
Mm-hmm. When you were in Sibir, like, that place was freaking cold, man.
Yeah, really cold. Yeah.
Did you like where was it? I don't even know the city, but Tractor.
Yeah, Chelyabinsk.
Chelyabinsk. Yeah. I and I'm not ripping on everywhere, but it wasn't, from what I remember, it wasn't one of the more lovely places.
No.
I didn't find.
Yeah, well, Novosibirsk, like, I remember one day it was minus 40 something, 42, 43, let's say. Like, it was freezing there, but the actual city itself wasn't bad. I actually liked the city there. The rink was old, but they had the best fans there. Like, the fans are awesome.
Yeah.
It made it fun to go to games. And but Chelyabinsk, like, I was there for a little bit, and the rink's super nice there. But then, like, the rest of the city, it's kind of, there's not much to do there, really. Honestly, it's kind of boring.
Yeah, that's probably more what I was saying. It wasn't like it
Yeah.
was an awful place, but it just
No,
I don't really remember being much to do there. But
no,
Sabir, I do remember you guys were on the ice and we were playing. It was a real important game, and like you said, it's that old rink, and the the box the box that we were in, me and the extras, where I sit, is right there. You can touch the people's heads of the
yeah,
fans in front of us, and they were. I guess I don't know if it was Shimmy or Smitty were playing, but one of them was playing really well, and they were turning around at me and they were yelling at me and screaming at me. And I'm just sitting there, I'm just watching the game. And one of them even threw popcorn at me.
no way.
And they were pointing at Shimmy or Smitty, the goalie, and saying something about him. Like, I'm sure they weren't saying very good things about him, but they were, and then they were yelling at me. It was freaking hilarious, but I loved it because they were so passionate.
Yeah. That's how they were there in Novosibirsk. The fans are just crazy about hockey.
Yeah.
I guess if you're like the enemy, so to speak, that it's like don't like you.
It seemed old school, like a place back home here where, you go to an old barn and you just have a lot of blue collar people
Yeah,
that just are out there supporting their team and would literally kill you out in the parking lot if they saw you.
yeah, probably for sure.
Yeah, that was actually one of the fonder memories. Even though that place was absolutely freezing cold. I noticed one other place that you played that actually I had no idea what team it was because they must have only been in the league for a while.
Yeah,
It's Zagreb.
Zagreb, yeah,
Where was that?
in Croatia.
Oh,
Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
that was my second year in the KHL, and I think it was their third or fourth year in the league, maybe something like that, or maybe even second or third. So yeah, they weren't around for long just because the team, I guess, had money problems or whatever. So I spent a whole season there in Zagreb, and then I signed with Nizhny in Russia, and I ended up kind of staying in Russia for a while after that.
Oh, see,
Yeah,
it doesn't say when I looked up your stats and stuff. It didn't say what city or country it was. So I was kind of confused by that. That's interesting. Is that where you met your wife?
yeah, it is. Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, it was. So the year I was there, like we ended up dating kind of pretty, a few months after I got there. I guess we were starting to see each other a bit, and
Right.
we ended up kind of, still dating through the next summer after I left and went home. And then she came to Nizhny with me the next year, actually. So she was living in like the small town in Russia with me. The first year we kind of started living together. So, yeah.
That's wild, man.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, did she speak good English right off the bat?
I wouldn't say the best. Like it was a little like tough with some words and stuff, but I could understand most of the things we're saying. So, but she learned really fast. Honestly, like she spoke pretty good English within a year. I'd say like she was pretty good. So
That's amazing. That always blows my mind how people
yeah,
can do that. Like a lot of people overseas that I meet are like, "Yeah, I speak 3 languages." I'm like,
yeah, it's
it's
wild.
like not a big deal to them.
I think pretty well everyone over there speaks at least English and then their native language, right? So,
Yeah, yeah.
or at
Well,
least some other language with their native language. But a lot of the Europeans speak English too now, right? Like I guess not the older generations, but the newer, younger
yeah,
generations are mostly speaking English. So,
for sure.
because they all get taught in school now English as a class. So that's what my
Is
wife told me. So.
when she first came back to Canada, was there an adjustment for her, or did she uh, uh, get accustomed to it really quickly? Or
Yeah, well, she came to visit before we started living together once, and was in Canada for a couple weeks. So she kind of saw how Vancouver and around here was like.
Right.
But when we actually started living together was more so in Russia and like Europe when I was overseas playing hockey. So when I came back, we ended up moving to the Sunshine Coast. So yeah, that's where we live now, and she loves it over here. I think she loves Canada. She's always happy to come back here. She'd rather come here than go back to Croatia, she tells me. So
She still have family? Is all her family there still?
yeah, all her family's in Croatia. So we get to see them once in a while, but not too often, unfortunately. And with all this COVID stuff, it's been kind of hard to
Yeah,
travel.
that kind of sucks, especially if you've got family and it's not easy to just jump back and forth. My wife is American, and now it's uh, and her parents are getting quite old, and you don't want to not be there for them
Yeah,
if anything were to happen to them. But now it's, I don't want to get all political and whatnot, but right now Canada's not making it very easy, and and shit's kind of going down right now, where, it doesn't look like it's going to get any better or loosen up. It's like
yeah,
some of the states in the United States are going a better way,
yeah.
whereas Canada, it seems, is actually going in the opposite direction. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, I don't understand. And they have the new restrictions in BC with all the restaurants and stuff too, which is like crazy. I don't know where all these new cases are coming from, because where I live over here, everything seems to be like fine. Like everyone's,
Yeah.
and I don't get it. So
Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? I've been really uh, social media wise and just in the public wise, especially because I need to work and I need to be open to, if an NHL job opens and this and that. So you're always worried about, what you say or not say. But truth of the matter is, uh, we should be able to have our own opinions and whatnot and have the freedom to speak.
yeah,
Uh, but
speech.
yeah, it's tough. It's tough because I just see what's going on outside of Canada and North America,
Mhm.
and can't believe that we're going in this opposite direction. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, I know. And I just went through the whole ordeal of traveling from internationally back to Canada. So I had to fly
Right, right.
directly from Europe to Vancouver, and we had to go through the whole testing and all that stuff at the airport. It took quite a while to get out of the airport, and then we had to be tested at the airport. Our tests were fine. We got our tests back within a day, but we had to go to a hotel, right? And they make you pay for 3 days.
What?
Yeah, so you have to pay up front for 3 days, and they just jacked the prices up like crazy. So it was like $1,700 for 3 nights at like a
Come on.
coast hotel by the airport. It's not like a super nice hotel. It's just like a normal hotel. So it was ridiculous, and we only stayed for one night. Like we got our test back in 24 hours, so legally we were allowed to leave. So we ended up going home after that, to the Sunshine Coast. But we had to spend one night in the hotel, but we had to pay for three. You can't get your money back, and then they can still rebook the room while you leave. So like it's like such a fucking scam, man. I couldn't believe it. I was so pissed. I
You
was like,
didn't get your money back?
no, I just like got robbed when I coming back in my own country. Basically, I was like, what the hell? Like I couldn't believe it.
That's like a huge money grab.
Oh, big time. So I had a negative test in Poland because I had to take it to the airport to fly. So
Right.
I got into Canada the next day. So I did another test, got it the next day. I was fine. And then we had to do an at home COVID test. They gave us one at the airport. So, like 10 days into our quarantine at home, I had to do like a self swab thing with someone like just like this over a Zoom meeting, like a doctor. And they watched me like swab my nose, and you have to send it by Purelator. And we already got our test back and we're negative again. So I had 3 tests within like a week, like let's say a week and a half, 10 days roughly. And I was just like, they were all negative. And I was like, this is just like excessive. I don't understand why. It was such out of control. I was just finally out of quarantine and done with it. I was so happy to be done with all that stuff. So,
Oh my God.
like I was being punished, and not just me, whoever else has to go through it as well. Like for going to work, like that's my job. I have to go work abroad, So it's kind of like you're being punished almost for, a lot of people, like especially like guys that play hockey overseas, have to go through this as well, right? So it's kind of a pain in the ass.
Well, I just saw on the news, and not the main news, but that Canada now has made, Trudeau said that you have to, like it's law now, that if you come back in and test positive, that you're going to, what did he call it? A facility?
Yeah.
Mandatory.
Yeah.
From what I know in my experience or in history, that's called an internment camp.
Sounds like communism almost, doesn't it?
Yeah, hey,
Fascism or something like.
everybody can have their opinion, but that just that scares me. It scares me, man. That he's saying that, and you don't even see them doing that in the States.
That is very scary. I didn't know they were doing that. And
Yeah, I just saw it. And the only people that covered it, because that Canada, they've always been, they kind of get swept under the rug as far as importance. We've always been, as a country, we've always been that chill friend that no one cares about. So all their stuff kind of goes unnoticed, right? But this one, I guess Tucker Carlson picked it up, and he went on a rant about it, and was not happy. So that's where I saw it, and then I obviously I researched it after, and it's legit. Like, and that just happened.
I can't believe that, because some people actually do test positive, but they have no symptoms. So like that doesn't seem quite fair if you're putting people in an internment camp basically for
And we're not talking a day.
Yeah, it's probably at least 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, and on your dime.
Yeah, exactly.
And you lose your job. What if you need to be back for work, or like it's not good stuff, man. It's that's about the most political stuff I've ever said on the pod, but it's scary because if something opens up for me overseas, for example, or even not even just overseas, but down in the NHL in the States, if something opens up, all of this stuff has to be considered, looked into, and that whole, I don't even know if this passes the whole vaccine passport thing.
That's even more scary, I think, honestly.
Yeah, like it's freaking 1984 George Orwell shit.
It is really. I know.
So but it also it directly correlates to my livelihood and whatnot. So it's pretty scary moving forward, and I hope it'd be less scary if I was already working. But right now you're like, if someone comes knocking on my door and I need to take a job, all of these things, the vaccines, the vaccine passports, the freaking quarantines, the internment camps, it's like, holy fuck, it's insane.
I know. I felt like I was being punished for going to work, when I came back, and it's just like, it's almost like they're trying to do that, so you're not traveling as much. They want you to stay in your pen, your pig pen, or whatever you want to call it. We gotta, like you said, go outside and live our lives and look outside in nature and see that the air is fresh out here. I don't have to be wearing a fucking mask when I'm walking outside in my house in nature. It's like, this is better for your immune system than anything that you can put over your face. Any vaccination, like exercise, eating healthy, proper diet, being out in nature, and being happy and around the right people. Those are the kind of things that people need to focus on.
I amen to that. I agree with you on that for sure. It's sad. I was actually just at the gym the other day, and it was right after the word came out that they were changing these mandates, or as far as the businesses and restaurants and shit like that. And downstairs of the gym that I work out at, there's a bowling alley,
Yeah.
and they have food and beer and
Mhm.
and shit in there, and they were boarded right up. And they're not a big business either. Like, I'm sure they're run by a family or whatnot. And just made me sad. Made me sad that if they probably finally thought, they were,
Yeah.
just maybe going to be able to get back going again, and then this fucking shit happened.
I know.
It's sad. I feel for for everybody and what they're going through.
Yeah, when I was in Poland, it was actually completely locked down. Like there was only takeout, there was no dine in or anything at all. So one of our trainers on our team, his family's business was a restaurant, and then the other one had a gym. So they were all like
Oh
shut down. I'm
my,
like, dude,
no.
that's pretty brutal. I was like, they must be, hurting right now and struggling a bit. So it's not really fair to those kind of people. It's I don't know how they're getting through this right now, honestly.
Well, I know a lot of people in LA because of me working there are getting, they're absolutely getting smashed
Yeah.
to hell. Well, just as far as the small businesses are concerned,
Yeah.
it's sad. It's sad. But anyways, and enough of the more negative stuff. Unfortunately, it's important though. It is important. But on a more positive note, I wanted to ask you uh, about, when I was looking at your statistics and stuff like that. I wanted to ask about your connection to the North Shore Winter Club here in Vancouver,
Yeah.
and because you're not from here, you're from Edmonton, right?
Well, I was born in Edmonton, but I grew up in Vancouver. Like I moved to
Oh,
North
okay.
Shore when I was 2 years old.
Oh,
So
so you're basically from here then.
pretty well, yeah. I just wasn't born here.
Oh, okay. So I was a little bit confused because I was like, did he just come over to play at North Shore Winter Club, or?
Uh,
Oh, okay, so you moved here then. So you're a Vancouver boy.
I actually like grew up on the North Shore, and I played for North End minor hockey first, and then I think it was Pee Wee is when I went over to the North Shore Winter Club. I played there for Pee Wee and Bantam basically, and that was it. And then I went.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool, man. It's
Yeah.
kind of funny. Like we're many generations apart, but I remember when I was a kid, because I come from Wally, Surrey, and I played for North Surrey, and back then uh, we were a bit of a joke. We weren't taken too seriously, let's just say, in the minor hockey world.
Yeah.
And whenever we would have to go play teams like Burnaby Minor, they were a big team back then. Burnaby Winter Club a little bit, and then the North Shore Winter Club. It was like, when we would walk in there, we didn't have a lot of money as far as the type of people and families that were involved in North Surrey minor hockey. And when we would go to the North Shore Winter Club, we just felt like we were about this big,
Yeah.
and we just used to want to beat them so bad. We never did ever, but it was kind of funny. And then years later, when I'm an adult and I have kids, and my kids got back into the minor hockey program here in the Lower Mainland, I stepped in that rink again, that
Yeah.
building, and I was like, what the fuck was the big deal? Like, it was small and old, and I was like,
Yeah.
as a kid, it was like bigger than life. The North
Yeah. I was the. That's funny because I was the same. Like I played at North Van, and to go play at the North Shore Winter Club, like my dad and a few of the other parents kind of like recruited sort of kids from like North Van to go play at the North Shore Winter Club.
right.
And like you said, it was like you had a membership fee and all that stuff, and people we knew were already members there, but we weren't members, so they kind of like helped us. And I don't know how my dad and these guys were crazy when we were kids. They made like a slush fund almost kind of thing for us to like play there basically, so all these guys could come from North Van and play at the Winter Club.
Oh, no way.
So we're kind of like supporting like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 guys to come play over there. So
Yeah.
that's how we ended up doing it. It was kind of cool. And it was, we won a lot of tournaments growing up. It's pretty awesome, man. Yeah.
The that winter club actually has produced a lot of hockey players.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you go into the building, you're like, the actual ice surfaces, you're not like some big grandiose facility. The whole thing as a whole is cool, but it's just more homey than anything. When I think like when I went back as an adult,
Yeah.
it didn't seem like as big, but it had this feel like, I think I could see why it would be cool. It felt like a more personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple rink, but there's a lot of history there, right? And a lot of love and stuff going into that facility too. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And then so that's really cool because since you're basically a Vancouver guy, then you play for the Giants at home too.
yeah, that
That's
was,
sick.
yeah. I actually billeted. I live in Vancouver in North Van, so I ended up billeting in Tawasin, and I actually lived in Ladner too. So I lived in both places out there.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah. I went to school out there too, like high school. I went out there.
So do you guys, when back then, did the Giants practice out there in Ladner or something?
Yeah, they did. It was in I think it was in what was it called? South Delta and Ladner maybe or something. It was like
Right.
in that industrial area. I can't remember. It used to be like a smaller rink, like where the Delta Ice Hawks played, maybe, I think it was.
Right.
Yeah, but now they have they've moved and stuff and have a different facility. But
What goalies were there when you were there?
when I was there, my last year was Dustin Slade and
Oh, okay.
Smith, actually.
Right. And did you win the cup?
We won the Western Hockey League.
Okay.
Ended up losing in I think it was I want to say quarter or semifinals of the Memorial Cup. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys had a good team. I do remember that.
Yeah, we had a lot of good players in our team that year.
Did you enjoy playing for the Giants then?
I did. Yeah, it was great. Junior hockey was so much fun, and just to get to play at home, like you said, and get to play at the Pacific Coliseum, where I watched the Canucks as a kid play.
Yeah.
It was pretty epic, honestly. It was just like everything was super cool. Getting to live away from home a bit, get to play at the Coliseum, and the Giants organization was just phenomenal. The way they treated the players and took care of us. So it was a great trip, like a great journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now I'll just touch briefly on moving on into your career. So you get drafted and you go to Columbus. And did you, growing up, were you ready for everything that was going to happen with you and the change of your life? And I'm asking you this too, because there are people that listen that are interested in that kind of stuff and in helping some people that maybe you have kids that are moving up through all of that and that transition. And I'm asking you this because I know I've coached guys that it's been a bit of a challenge moving so quickly.
Yeah, definitely going from like basically out of high school to the NHL was pretty mind blowing for me. And I was drafted by Columbus, and I was playing with guys like Sergei Fedorov and Adam Foote and Frederick Modine and all these kind of guys. And I was just like, I couldn't believe it, honestly. I was like a bit starstruck for sure.
Yeah.
I used to have like I've said this I think before a few times in interviews, but I had a Sergei Fedorov poster on my door as a kid. When he had the all like Nikes, white Nike skates, Nike, everything Nike, right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of just like surreal that I was sitting beside this guy in a room and going to be working with him. And I just was like, it was wild, honestly. And I was so young, and I was dealing with that, and also dealing with trying to become an NHL player. And I was basically still just a kid, right? So I was just kind of trying to find my way in life, and I didn't really know who I was as a person yet.
Yeah.
So I was still growing, and it was wild, honestly. It was quite a ride. emotionally and mentally, and it was wild, and I learned a lot. I think I had to grow up pretty fast, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't think most
can
18,
imagine.
go through 19, go through that kind of stuff, and that kind of change. So it was wild for sure.
Yeah. Cause not everybody does that jump right away.
Yeah.
That usually they have the time to have some growing pains out of the limelight in the minors.
Yeah.
And to have to go through all of that right off the hop in the spotlight, that's got to be a lot of pressure for a young kid to handle, especially when you're probably feeling like those people you mentioned, the peers that are actually more idols than anything else, are looking at you. You probably feel like they're looking at you, and you want to perform well, you want to show well, and instead of just going out and having fun and playing, I can imagine as a kid that had to be tough.
Yeah, that was a big change for sure. And in junior hockey, you're just kind of going out and having fun every night, and you're playing with your buddies, and then you're really going into like an actual job now, right? And it was definitely like an eye opener for me, for sure.
Do you find now it's more easy to see the whole picture of your life and enjoy what you're doing now more so than when you first jumped into the NHL? Do you enjoy what you're doing maybe more now?
Yeah, I think everyone, we all go through ups and downs, and whatever career path we choose, and no different for me in hockey. I've had my ups and downs and been through a lot. But all those experiences have made me the person I am, and that's the thing that I see. I'm grateful for all that I've been through, whether it was good or bad. I'd just try to take what you can from it and learn. Like I said, if it's good or bad, you want to learn something, try to take away something from it, and try to grow as a person. And that's what I've always tried to do. And sometimes it's been harder to do than others, but as a whole, in the end, I'm almost 35 years old now. I see, I've had a good career, and I've done quite a bit, and had a pretty successful, career in hockey. So it's been great, and I'm grateful for that, just to be able to do that for a living.
Yeah, it's easier when you're at the later part of your career to compartmentalize everything and enjoy what you do.
Yeah.
And when you look back when you're younger, it seems you're always pushing so hard and just want to do everything to the best and achieve the highest. And it's harder to smell the roses, if you will, when you're a kid. Yeah, but I that's why I like to talk and focus on your career as a whole. That I think it's a great thing that you have managed, although you played in the NHL and you're drafted high and you had those good moments there. The overall body of work, I think, is a great achievement for your life.
Yeah.
Then if you just played on one team your whole life, stayed in one city, you'd have an unreal career as a hockey player. But I think your life resume is pretty cool. I think it's really cool, especially when I realize how many places you've been. I thought it would be really interesting to touch on that. I think it's very, 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 you should be proud of that accomplishment.
Well, thank you, Dusty. I am. And, one of the best things, and I got to travel so much. I even got to meet my wife in my travels.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the biggest things that I'm grateful and thankful for. So,
no doubt.
Traveling has its perks, and you never know what can happen, right? You never know where you're going to end up, and it's pretty awesome. And like you said, we were both kind of fortunate to be able to travel the world to play a game pretty well. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, hey man, I really, really appreciate you doing this with me, buddy. It was great catching up. Don't be a stranger. I'd like to know what's going on with you moving forward, and if we can break down these walls a little bit and get out. You get over here or I get over there, and I would love to to plug into your new stack for sure.
Yeah.
And jam sometime.
I bet you would. Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Right on, buddy. Hey, all the best. Say hi to your wife for me. And peace to you, brother.
Yeah, all the best to you and your family, Dusty. Thanks for having me.
Right on.
Really nice chatting with you, buddy.
Cool. Well, that was cool. I want to thank Brule for coming on my podcast. It was awesome to catch up with him. He's a real cool kid. He's subdued and quiet, and at first, you know, he doesn't come across as overly open and stuff, but once you get to know him, he's a real cool shit. And I had a great time talking about guitars and music and all that good stuff. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed talking to him. One last thing. The part that we talked about the coronavirus and lockdowns and all that shit, those are opinions, and I won't make a habit of talking about that shit all the time, but it is real life that is staring us all in the face every day. So I hope you guys can respect that. All I want is for everybody to be happy and getting their lives back. That's all I want, man. So on that note, I will bid you adieu. Oh, one last thing. I set up my YouTube channel, so if you want to check out episodes, clips, or whatnot of Motley Thoughts, you're more than welcome to go like and subscribe on that channel. I hope you all have an awesome weekend. And remember what I always say, stay safe, stay connected, and God bless. Peace out!